In this chapter, we're going to be looking at some alternative control flow structures. And in this first lesson, we're going to be looking at an alternative to the if statement called the switch statement. So let's take a look at how it works. We'll do it up here in a comment area. We'll do a long line comment. We begin with the keyword switch, followed by an integral expression. Now what that means is that an expression that evaluates to an integral value, such as an integer or a whole number. It can be any of the integral types. You only know about int, but there's also char, because char stores its values as integers based on the ASCII table rather than the character itself. So you have to have an integral expression as kind of the target expression of the switch. Then you open up the switch body. Inside the body will be a series of what are called case statements. The case statement then evaluates an expression, and that expression is compared to the original integral expression at the beginning. Normally, in a lot of cases, it's simply a literal, like a number or a letter or something, but not necessarily. Following that is a colon. After the colon, an indented will be a set of statements, one or more statements that you want evaluated based on the expression in the case statement being true, or the case clause being true. After that will be a break. The break indicates that you're through evaluating expressions for this true value and you're ready to drop out of the whole switch statement. Then you can have a second case clause with the same structure. And you can have a third and a fourth and a fifth. We'll stop after 2. And then finally, you can have a default, which means that if none of the other case clauses are evaluated, if the default exists, then you execute those set of statements inside the default, and then you finish the program by closing out the body of the switch. So that's how the switch statement looks in a syntax template. Let's look at an example program that uses the switch. So we'll close out the comment, and we'll go back to our main program. So what we're going to do is we're going to prompt the user to enter a letter grade. And then that letter grade is going to be the key in our switch statement to determine what numerical range that letter grade represents. So we're going to prompt the user, enter a letter grade. And we're going to convert to char, whatever we read from the keyboard. And then we begin the switch statement. So we write switch on the letter. Our first clause says case A. We could do case capital A or little a. I'm going to keep it simple and just use capital A. I'll show you in a minute how we could convert that. And then a break. And then case B. And we'll say console write line 80 to 89. Break. Case C. Console write line 70 to 79, break. Case D, console write line 60 to 69, break. And then we can write default console.write line below 60. So at that point we're finished. We close out the switch statement. That completes the program. So in the default, you also need to have the break statement. So we'll add the break in there for the default. Some languages don't require that break after the default. C# does. We'll add that to our template. We forgot a console read key. And we also need a space. So let's fix that real quick. Console read key, and then right up here in our prompt, we forgot to put a space. Right there. Okay, here we go. Letter C is 70 to 79. Let's run the program again. Let's do a D, 60 to 69. Let's do an A one more time. Well, let's do a B. B is 80 to 89. Might as well finish it out. An A is 90 to 100. One more. And an F is below 60. And to be honest, we probably want to put F by itself and not have a default, since you can have letter grades that are only A, B, C, D, and F. I wanted to demonstrate default, so I did it like that. But perhaps a better way to write the program would be to actually provide a case for the F. In fact, let's watch this. Let's modify this a little bit. let's say case F, console write line below 60, break. And then for the default should say if it's not A, B, C, D, or F, then it didn't recognize that input. We can say didn't recognize input. Let's try it again. And F is below 60. One more time. Let's put a G. There's no letter grade G. Didn't recognize input. All right. So you see how the switch statement works. It takes a integral expression and then compares it to the expression in the case clause. If the comparison is true, if they're equal, then you execute the statements in the clause. If it's not true, you move to the next case clause. Continue down until you're out of case clauses, and if there's a default and you're at that point, then you execute the code inside the default, and then the switch statement is over. So that's how the switch statement works, and in the next lesson we'll look at another example of using the switch statement.